Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to trace the incredible journey of how business has evolved over the last 100 years or so. We're talking about a shift from a world powered by steam and steel to one that literally runs on data and ideas. Okay, let's just dive right in. Look on the left. You've got the titans of the old economy, right? Exxon, GM, Ford. Their power was all about physical stuff. Oil fields, giant factories, sprawling assembly lines. Now, look to the right. Microsoft, Apple, Disney. What are their most valuable assets? They're not things you can touch. They're ideas, their code, their stories. And that is the fundamental shift we're unpacking today. The huge move from an economy built on property to one driven by ideas.
So, to really get where we are now, we have to rewind the clock, back to the beginning of the 20th century. The world was messy, industrial production was pretty chaotic, and one man thought he had the answer, to basically write a brand new rulebook for the factory floor.
Yeah, so the guy behind this whole new science of work was an American engineer, Frederick Taylor. And when he looked at a factory, he didn't really see people. He saw one giant, clunky, inefficient machine. He believed his job was to optimize every single moving part of it, and that included the human beings.
You know, the core idea of Taylorism is kind of shocking in how simple and, well, dehumanizing it was. It basically said that every worker is just a rational component, motivated by one thing and one thing only: making more money. In this world, things like creativity or social needs or just feeling good about your job, they weren't just in the back seat, they weren't even part of the equation.
So, if you've ever wondered why making a burger at a fast food joint is so incredibly systematized, well, you're looking at the ghost of Taylorism. The whole philosophy was crystal clear. Management does all the thinking and the workers just execute. Every single task was timed and studied to find the one single best way to do it, and then that became the rule. The goal? To make human work just as predictable and efficient as a machine.
And look, it was a seriously powerful idea. It absolutely boosted productivity. But a system that's built on treating people like machines has a pretty fundamental flaw, doesn't it? Sooner or later, you have to face the fact that people aren't just cogs in a machine. Okay, so as we get into the mid-20th century, a new way of thinking starts to take hold. The idea wasn't to just throw out efficiency, but to add this crucial missing piece, an understanding that the social and psychological needs of workers were actually just as important. You can really see the whole evolution right here on this timeline. The focus just keeps zooming out. It goes from trying to optimize one single task, to understanding how a small team works together, and then finally to seeing the whole company as this complex, interconnected social system where one little change can send ripples through the entire organization.
This was the huge light bulb moment. Managers started to get that motivation was way more complex than just a paycheck. It was about status, it was about feeling like you belong, about social connection. For the very first time, the focus started to shift from the what of the work to the who and the how of the people actually doing it.
And then, just as things were starting to settle, a new force just smashes onto the scene in the late 20th century, something that would shatter all the old ways of thinking and speed up change like never before: information technology.
Don't automate, obliterate. Talk about a bombshell of an idea. This came from a former MIT professor named Michael Hammer. He saw all these companies getting these powerful new computers and just using them to do something kind of dumb, to speed up their old, broken industrial-age processes. His point was, why use incredible new technology to just pave an old cow path? You need to rethink the entire journey from scratch.
And the key word here for sure is radical. This was not about making little tweaks or small improvements over time. No, this was about taking a blank sheet of paper and asking, okay, if we were starting this company from scratch today, with everything we know now, how would we build it?
This table just lays out the stark difference. On one side, you have the slow, steady, careful approach of the older theories. That's gradual evolution. And on the other side, bam, the fast, disruptive, and often pretty brutal approach of reengineering. That was all about sudden revolution.
And, well, like a lot of revolutions, this one had casualties. In the real world, reengineering often just became a fancy word for downsizing and layoffs. It led to this phenomenon critics started calling corporate anorexia, where companies got so obsessed with being lean that they became too weak to actually take advantage of growth when the economy turned around.
Yeah, critics like C.K. Prahalad really hit the nail on the head. They pointed out this huge flaw in the whole approach.
By focusing so relentlessly on cutting costs today, executives were destroying employee morale and pretty much sacrificing any real investment in building a company that could survive tomorrow.
So all of this brings us to today. After a whole century of evolution, from efficiency to humanity to radical redesign, we've landed in an era that's defined not by what we make with our hands, but by what we create with our minds.
And what's wild is that the economist Joseph Schumpeter basically predicted this shift decades ago. He identified these 5 types of innovation as the real engines of progress. I mean, think about Apple or Microsoft. Their success wasn't just about making more stuff, it was about fundamentally changing the entire game by creating completely new products, new markets, and totally new ways of doing business. And if you want to understand just how massive this transformation is, just look at this number. The International Labor Organization predicts that by 2050, we might only need 5% of the adult population to run our entire traditional industrial sector. Just let that sink in for a second. The world of factories and farms that defined the 20th century could basically run itself.
So here it is, the whole journey in 3 acts. We went from an economy where value was tied to owning land and factories, to an economy where it was about using technology to make those things better, and now finally to an economy where the single most valuable asset is the knowledge inside our heads, our intellectual capital.
From the rigid, measured lines of the factory floor, all the way to the limitless, connected networks of the human mind, the very nature of work and value has been completely transformed. It's a 100-year story that leaves every single one of us with that one final crucial question to answer.